My name is Scott Sherman. I'm from this neighborhood. I grew up here. I've been on either Danbury, Vanderveer, or Clara Lee my entire life. I went to Foster, Lewis, and Patrick Henry. My daughter went to Foster, Lewis, and Patrick Henry. She actually attended preschool right here in this church. Back when they used to have the chalkboard over here, it said disease of the week, you know, when you walk in and find out what your kids are going to catch when you come in each week. And since I've been in this community, I've also been giving back to the community for a long time. I've worked at the YMCA, teaching martial arts, volunteering my time there for 10 years, 2 nights a week. I work with Make-A-Wish, Burn Institute, Children's Convalescent, Wounded Warrior Project, giving back to them, helping raise money and donating my time and money to them. I'm a father, husband, grandfather, and I've owned my own business in one form or another since I was 24 years old. And I watch the way the city has been managing the money that we send them, and I ask myself every time, does anybody down there ever run a business? Do they understand what balancing a budget and making payroll, not going into debt is about? And I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And the time I've been in our company, it's an insurance agency, we've grown from 3 to 30 people and accrued no debt along the way. We have full boat health care, we have good salaries, and a 401k system. That's what I think we need to do at the city. I think we need to look at the city as an underperforming business, a business that isn't up to par and needs help. So and I've done that in my business before. We've taken over companies, we've bought companies, acquired other businesses that needed our help, needed our markets. And there are 3 or 4 things we always do when we look at a business that's struggling. First thing we do is look at the management. Well, the management we have at City Hall right now has been in place for about 10 years. And it's got us $2.2 billion in unfunded pension liabilities and $856 million thereabouts in deferred maintenance on our streets and our parks. That needs to stop. I mean, if you've looked at it for at least 10 years and that management's been the same and we're in this position, common sense would say we need to try something different. Second thing we look at is the cost of labor. And just about every business out there, the cost of labor is your #1 expense to doing business. Our cost of labor is out of control. It can't be sustained the way it is. $2.2 billion is a lot of money to try and make up. That's why I'm in favor of the pension reform system that's on the ballot now. My wife Norma and I walked many a door getting signatures. We stood out in front of many a grocery store listening to the other side standing this close in our face and give us a hard time about what we were doing. So we understand that fight that's against us. The other thing we need to do is look at streamlining the process at City Hall and making City Hall a business-friendly place. Business creates jobs, creates careers, creates a tax base for the city to give back and do the services that they need to do. My business is insuring business. That's what I do. I have a restaurant. It took 18 months to open up. 15 different regulatory agencies with the city, the state, and the feds. I've got one lady whose business, her entire business is getting people to understand how to get through the permitting process at City Hall. I sell insurance. If you came to me and wanted an insurance quote, and I had to send you to a third party to figure out how to get a quote from me, I wouldn't be writing very much insurance. That's what's happening with the city. I've got another guy, has a person on staff full-time to stand in line at City Hall. That's got to work. That's got to stop. We need to change the mentality down there to the same thing we do in business. It's 5 simple words we use all the time, and it means a lot in business. How may I help you? It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. But we have to change the culture down there at City Hall. And I think the pension reform measure will help do that. Because once we get out of the system where people are watching the clock and counting until retirement, then we can actually start giving incentive for people to do a good job. In my business, if we have a department, we give them their budget, we get them to come in under budget and still provide the quality of service, we share some of that savings with the employees because they did such a good job. That's what we need to do at the city. Give them incentive to do a good job, not just collect a paycheck and watch the clock for retirement. It needs to change, but it has to start at the top. And that's why I'm running. I've been involved in business, I've been involved in nonprofits and charities, and I want to bring all those experiences down to City Hall, try and put a team together that can reform the system and get our parks back in order, get our libraries back in order, get our streets put back in the way they were. When I was a kid, Mrs. Summers is back there in the corner. And I still call you Mrs. Summers. We used to be able to ride our clay-wheeled skateboards over to her house down the street without any problems. Now you can't take a mountain bike without worried about dropping in a hole. All of that is deferred maintenance because we're spending money in crazy ways. Another good example, Tecolote Canyon. There are a bunch of non-native palm trees in Tecolote Canyon that needed to be removed. They're competing with the native vegetation for the water and for space. But we can't disturb the native vegetation on the sides of the canyon. So the city, in its infinite wisdom, spent $950,000 of our tax dollars to airlift trees out of the canyon. With 30% unemployment, I guarantee you I can find in the construction industry. With 30% in the construction industry, I guarantee you I can find some guys with chainsaws to cut those into little pieces, get a human chain line going right up the side of the canyon, and 2 weeks worth of watering and a little bit of fertilizer, you wouldn't even know we were there. And would cost an eighth of what it cost $950,000 to airlift trees. Those kind of things need to be changed. That kind of spending needs to be changed. In business, I appreciate every single dollar we get that comes through our door, because it doesn't have to come to us. If we don't provide a good service and a good price, it goes down the street. I want to bring that mentality to the city. I've lived in this neighborhood all my life. I care deeply about our neighborhood here. I don't want to see anything change. I mean, we all come to Allied Gardens, we all moved here because it's the quaint little neighborhood that if you took a bunch of 1950s cars and put them on the street, you wouldn't know the difference. You'd think you were looking at a photo from the old days. It hasn't changed. It's the little jewel that nobody knows about. I'd like to see it stay that way. I really would. But we need to change City Hall. We can't keep going the way we're going. We need pension reform, we need to streamline the process, and we need to increase bidding out services. We voted for managed competition 6 years ago. So far, the city has bid out 3 services. All 3 of those services were won by the city labor unions because they cut costs, they went outside their departments and started looking at other private sector operations that can help provide the services that they provide to the city. Fleet maintenance saved $4.4 million a year because they knew they were up against competition. So they did what was necessary to be competitive and saved us $4.4 million every year. My question is how long have they been overcharging us? Why haven't we looked at some of this before? I mean, in my business, I give you 4 or 5 different options when I'm giving you quotes for insurance, and I let you decide which one you want. Get the best value for our dollar. And trust me, cheapest isn't best. I know in business, you go cheap, that's what you get. But there needs to have some of that on the table to where we have options. Right now, there are no options on the table. It's the city employee unions, and that's it. Let's put everybody a chance at the table. Let's bring everybody together and see where our best option is. If the unions can compete, great. If the private sector compete, that's great too. Fairness and open, that's what we need. So that's really what I'm about. I've never run for political office before. You can probably tell by my hairline, I'm probably not cut out for this. I like the idea of the citizen politician. You work in the private sector, you go down to City Hall, you do the best you can to serve your community, and you go back to the private sector. For too long, too many people in politics look at politics as a career. It's not a career for me. Career is a calling. It's a calling for me. The city and the neighborhood's in danger and in trouble, and it needs help, and I think I can do that. That's why I want to run. That's why I'm asking for your votes. That's why I'm here.